Okay, so let's maybe tackle this roof piece first before we move on to the other objects. Just grab that. Let's hide everything else. Okay, and there's a couple ways we could map this one. We could use automated mapping if you put an unwrap on here and just go immediately into the unwrap window and grab all these polygons and flat map them. Okay, and just leave that at 45 degrees and hit OK. That's going to break that up, and we could easily just stitch it back together. But as you can see, we have a lot of little pieces here floating around, and it's going to take quite a bit of time to stitch this back together. Okay, so a better method is just to actually do a pelt map on it. Just going to undo that for a second. We'll just deselect our polygons here in the viewport, and let's go to edge, and we'll just grab one of these corner edges here and hit Z. Okay, and on this one we're going to select the center edge on the corner and just do a loop on that. Okay, and that's going to go all the way down and underneath, as well as all the way down to the back here on the top. Okay, so we're just going to turn that into a seam here, and we'll do that for all four corners. Okay, so let's grab an edge here and zoom. Okay, do a loop, convert it to a seam, and the same thing over on the other two. Okay, so loop that and convert that to a seam. Alright, so we have all four corners cut here. And now we can just grab a polygon, expand the selection, which will fill the entire model. And we'll just do a pelt map here. Okay, so open up pelt, start pelt map, let that pull out, and then hit commit. And we can just rotate this around. And once again, relax it down. Okay, so crank that back up to 1 and use face angles, and just hit start relax. Okay. It might take a couple of minutes. We have a few edges here, so just let that go until you don't see it moving around, and then you can stop that. Alright, as you can see, this is completely unfolded for us, and we have everything in one piece, which is a lot faster than using the flat mapping technique. Okay, so I definitely recommend using pelt. On some of this kind of geometry, when you map it, it can actually be quite a bit faster than the automated method. Okay, we don't really need to do anything on the corners here. We don't want to stitch these edges together here or anything, because it's going to distort these polygons on the texture. And we want to have kind of the same shape on the UVs here as we have on these corners. Okay, and you can see that's pretty much the same profile, which is how we want to have it. Okay, and this will obviously be quite easy to paint on in Photoshop. Alright, so that should be good for the UVs on this piece. Let's just put our checker on and we'll just check it out. Okay, so we have the checker continuing from the center of the roof here up and over the edge, and down and underneath this detail here to the bottom. Okay, and the only seams we have are on these corners, which is a good place to put it. You really won't notice those being there. Okay, so that's good for UVs there. Let's drag that material and drop it on there, and we'll just unhide everything else here. Okay, so let's maybe move on to, say, these corner strips here. I'm just going to grab one of those and we'll hide everything else. And let's also maybe center the pivot there. I have it over in the center because I mirrored the piece over to the other side, but let's just center it. So into the hierarchy tab, hit effect pivot only and center the object, and just turn that button off. Okay, so if you zoom in on the top here, you can see there's no back polygons. And we just have a kind of a simple chamfered edge here around the top. Alright, so let's drop on Unwrap, go to Edge. Let's just grab an edge here and zoom in on it. Okay, for this we could actually just cut off the top and bottom. So let's grab this edge here, loop it, and convert it to a seam, and you can use point to point if you want. Do the exact same thing at the bottom, select an edge there, and zoom in. Okay, let's just do the same edge, so grab this guy, loop, and convert that to a seam. Okay, so that's going to let us cut off the top and bottom. For the sides here, we can actually just unfold that as one piece. We don't need to cut any additional seams in there. Alright, so let's go up to the top. Let's go to Polygon, grab one of these top polygons, and we'll just expand that, and it'll just fill the top, so we can just planar map this. Okay, so do a quick planar map. The exact same thing down at the bottom. Grab a polygon there and expand it, and do a quick planar map. And for the sides, we'll just select those polygons, and let's do a pelt on that. Okay, so start pelt, and we'll just relax it down here in the unwrap window. Okay, that's good. Let's maybe relax these two pieces as well. And we'll rescale these into the proper proportion. Okay, so you can leave these top and bottom pieces separated off if you want, or you could even stitch them back on. And let's just stitch them back on quick. I'm just going to move this up here. Actually, we'll just zoom in. Let's go to edge, we'll turn off synced element, and we'll just select one of these edges here. Let's grab this guy, and we'll right click and stitch select it. Okay, that's going to stitch it on there, but as you can see, it's kind of sticking up here. And when we pack the UVs later on, that's going to be probably in the way. So what we can do is just break it off here and stitch this piece over onto this edge here. Okay, so let's grab an edge right here in the center. Control click that one as well, and then we'll right click and go break. Okay, that'll separate out those polygons. Okay, so we can just move it around, and let's go back to edge, turn off synced element, select this edge, and just stitch it. Okay, now I'll get that piece out of the way, sticking up there. And in here, we could probably stitch a couple of these verts together. Alright, so let's grab this one here, and you can see that matches up with that blue one there, so we can just actually right click and go to target weld, and just drag and drop that on that vert. Okay, and when the seam disappears, that means it's welded. Okay, so we'll do the same thing here, and this one should actually go down to this place here. Alright, so drop that there. And I don't think we want to stitch these together, we'll probably get some distortion there, so let's just maybe leave it the way it is. We'll do the same thing at the bottom. Okay, so back to edge, select one of these edges here, and stitch, and just break the center edge. Okay, and then come over and select this guy and stitch that back on. And we'll just clean up the verts here quick. Okay, so target weld, drag and drop, and we'll do this guy as well. Okay, so now that we have that on, let's just relax it one more time. Okay, so back to polygon, turn on synced element, select the whole thing, and just relax it down one more time. Okay. And that's pretty good for the UVs. Let's just scale it down here, it's giant. Okay, we'll just move it over and kind of size it to our 0 to 1 grid. Okay, I'm just going to park this off on the side here. Okay. So let's check our checker on there and see how it looks. Okay, so we got our texture continuing around the sides, around the front here, as well as around the bottom. Okay, and the only seam we have is right there, as well as these small corners, and that really won't be noticeable when you have texture on this model. Okay, so let's maybe zoom out here, close this for a second. Just gonna unhide all. And we have an exact copy of this piece over on this side. Okay, so you can map this one and then, you know, clone it over and replace this one, or you can actually save the UVs from this piece and apply them to this piece. Okay, so let's do that. With our original piece here, select it. Let's go down in the modify panel to save. Click on that, and this will actually let you save out the UVs from an object as a UVW file. So we'll just call that, say, something like, well, trim, and hit save. Okay, and now what we can do is come over, let's turn off the Unwrap Modifier here, select the other piece on the other side, and put it on our Unwrap, and we'll go down to load this time, choose that trim UV file, and hit open. Okay, and if we put our checker on this, you can see that's mapped the exact same way. And if we open up the editor window, we have the exact same UV layout here. Okay, so that's a really good way to save yourself some time if you have a bunch of copies in the scene, and you can either replace them or you can do it this way. And just be aware that if you make any modifications to the object, you won't be able to assign UVs this way. It has to have the exact same vert count as the original piece that you're saving the UVs from. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind, but it can save you a lot of time. Okay, so those two are done. Let's just put our material on them. And the next thing we'll do is maybe move on to, say, one of these pillars here in the front. Alright, so let's grab this one, hide everything else. Okay, we'll zoom in on that. Let's also center the pivot. Toss on the unwrap, and we'll just unwrap this guy. Okay, so I think the best way to approach this, because we have this detail kind of cut in here, we really can't unfold it. We're going to need to kind of break off all four sides. Okay, so to do that, let's go up to the top. Let's go back to edge, And we'll just maybe cut off the top polygon here. So let's go to maybe point to point seam, and we'll just kind of trace around the top here. Okay, so just follow that around, clicking on the verts until you get back to where you started, and then right click. Okay, and make sure that blue seam continuously goes around the top. Alright, we'll do the same thing on the bottom. And once again, you're not going to see this bottom polygon, so you could actually delete that out. It looks like I forgot to do that, so we'll just map it. Okay, so the same thing there, follow that around. And now we need to split the corners, so let's zoom in at the top, turn our wireframe off F4, and we'll turn off point to point. We'll just use a loop selection here. Okay, so let's grab one of these edges here in the center. Okay, let's do that on each of the 4 corners. So just hold down Control and select those 4 edges. Okay, we'll loop them, and that'll go all the way down to the bottom. And we'll just turn those into a seam. Alright. And another thing you can do, if you want to save yourself the one step of stitching this top polygon back onto one of these sides, you can actually just deselect the edges here by going to Edit Seams. If you go in here and just hold down Alt, you can just click those out, okay, to turn them off. Okay, so let's do maybe those 3 center ones, so we just have this connecting up right here. Let's go down to the bottom, we'll do the exact same thing. Okay, so let's zoom in there, hold down Alt and deselect those 3 seams. Okay, and that'll let us kind of unfold these polygons with this side piece here. It'll just kind of fold out, and the same at the top. Okay, so now what we can do is go to Polygon. Let's just select one of these side polygons here, expand it. Okay, now select the entire side. You could pelt map this, but let's maybe just do a planar map. Okay, so hit quick planar map, and we'll spin around and do it on the front as well. Okay, and just keep working around it, expanding that selection and planar mapping it. Okay, and for the back here, the one with the top and bottom polygons are attached to, I'm just going to expand that, and rather than planar mapping, I'm actually going to pelt map it. Okay, so let's open up pelt, start pelt, and hit commit. Okay, so we should have our 4 chunks in here. Alright, I'm just going to rotate this guy a little bit more straight up, and we'll just use the move tool to space these ones out here. They're all stacked on top of each other. Okay, so let's relax this guy down first. Okay, same settings as always. Alright, just let that go until it straightens out. Okay, and as you can see, the top and bottom polygon folded out and are attached there. Okay, we'll do a relax on these as well, so grab those and relax them. Okay, and occasionally get one that kind of flips around like this. Let's try that with maybe edge angles. Okay, you can see that's even worse, so let's hit Control Z, and let's try to maybe straighten this out with straighten selection. Okay, and then we'll relax it. Okay, let's try face angles again. Okay, there we go. And we want these to be as straight as possible, so we'll just kind of straighten this guy out and then relax him down. And same with this one, straighten and relax. Okay, and you can also rotate them straight up if you want. Okay, so let's grab all 4 and rescale them. Alright, so you can see we got a couple of them, or this one here is upside down, so we'll just rotate that 180 degrees by using this button up here to flip it. And like I mentioned, because we have this kind of curved detail in here, we really can't attach these side edges together. If you were to stitch this, it's going to be like this, which would make the polygons overlap here, so this this part here of this pillar as well as this part would get the same texture if they're like this. So the best thing to do in this situation is just leave them separated out. Okay, you could attach these edges here together, but there's really no need to do that. You're still going to have that seam going down the sides. Alright, so we'll just kind of stack them next to each other here. Okay, something like that. And we'll also scale them way down. Alright, let's stack them up here. And let's just actually put them out to the side. Okay, so that should be good for the UVs here. We'll just check it out. Apply that checker. And we'll see how it looks. Okay, we have no distortion, which is good, and everything seems to be the way we want it. Okay, another thing to make sure, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the first part or not, if you have a checker, it's a good idea to use a checker with some kind of number or letter on it, just so you know that the UVs are actually facing the right way up. Okay, let's just open this up for a second. On something like this, it's pretty easy to tell due to the shape, but if you have maybe just like a box or something, you can't really tell which way is up. It's a good idea to have those letters or numbers on your checker so you can see, so you don't accidentally leave it upside down, like say this. And then when you start painting your texture in Photoshop, stuff you're painting at the bottom actually shows up upside down on the top, and if you're painting up here, it shows up at the bottom. Okay, so always use a checker image that has some kind of number or letter on it so you know that it's facing the right way up, like this. Okay, a little tip there. Let's just close that. Alright, and we're done with the UVs on this piece, and once again it's the same as the other column over on the other side of the door here. So we'll just save these UVs out. Okay, so back down to save, and we'll just name this pillar and save. Okay, and then we'll go over and grab the other one there, apply and unwrap, and load the pillar UVs onto that one. Okay, and just drag and drop our checker, and everything looks like it's fine there, so we'll just open this up and make sure. Okay, we're good. So that'll take care of both the columns. Let's just quickly apply our orange shader to it. Okay, we're looking good. Let's maybe tackle this trim up here above the door. Okay, we have a really simple box shape here, and then we have a little bit more of a complicated one here. So let's do this box first. Okay, and it's actually just a plane that's got some chamfer corners. On something like this, we'll just split maybe these bottom corners and leave the rest of it attached. Okay, so let's go over here. Let's put on an unwrap. And because we have no back polygons or top polygons, we're just going to cut it, say right here, and then I'll let this side kind of fold out this way, as well as the bottom down. Alright, so let's maybe do this with an edge selection. I'm just going to grab maybe these bottom edges here, as well as this one, and let's maybe do this one while we're at it. Okay, just up to this point here. Okay, now just help avoid some distortion on the corner if we cut it up this high. Okay, so convert that to a seam. Let's go around the other side and do the exact same thing here. These two bottom edges as well as these two ones on the chamfer. Let's put that, and that should be all we need to do. So over to the polygon, select all the polygons, and let's just pellet map it while we're at it. It's just as quick as anything else. And we'll just kind of straighten this out here, and once again relax it down. Okay, and you can just come in and check it out, but I think we're good. And I think I'll just leave this split. You could weld these together, but there's really no reason to do that. It looks fine. Okay, so let's try the checker. Everything's good there, so let's just apply that shader, and we'll move on to the next piece, which is this trim piece here. Okay, so let's get rid of everything else in the viewport. Okay, and this one doesn't have any back polygons, but it does have a bottom and top. Okay, so how we're going to do this one is try to unfold it in one shot. Alright, so add an unwrap modifier there. Let's go back to edge, and I think we'll just loop maybe one of these edges here. Let's do this guy. Let's do a loop on that. And it'll go down to the bottom here, but we actually want to continue it down to the back so this polygon can kind of flip out and be attached to these front faces. Okay, so we're going to need to control click these two edges here. Okay, and at the top, we'll just leave it like that. Let's convert that to an edge, or a seam, sorry. And we'll go over on the other end and make the exact same cut here. Okay, so just grab an edge there, hit Z, and zoom in. Let's loop the same one here, and continue that to the back at the bottom. Convert that to a seam. Okay, so we just have a cut like that on each end. Let's go to polygon, expand the selection, which will fill the entire thing, and once again do another pelt on it. Okay, let that pull out for a second and hit commit. Okay, we'll straighten it out and relax it down. Okay, and that should unfold properly for you. You might have to hit relax a few times, but it should be good to go. So let's just flip it around here, and let's check it out. Okay, so you can see we have the sides flattened out properly, as well as the front and even the bottom polygon there still attached. Okay, so I don't think we really need to do any work on it. It looks pretty good. We'll scale it down, and we'll just park it down at the bottom here somewhere. Okay, turn that off and apply our checker. Okay, and everything looks good here. We have it the checker rolling up the front and over the top with no seams. So that should be good for texturing. And everything looks correct, so that's good. We're done with that piece. Okay, so we'll just keep moving here. Let's maybe take care of this trim piece here above the door before we get actually to the door here. Alright, so let's grab that, hide everything else. And once again, all the back polygons and side polygons here are removed. So we just have the front and bottom. And with something like this, you actually don't need to cut any seams. Let's just go and put an unwrap on. And let's grab a polygon here in the front. Okay, select one of those and expand it. And we could flat map this, but let's actually just pelt the whole thing at once. Okay, so open up pelt again, start pelt, commit, and relax. Okay, and that's done. So really, really simple on that piece. Okay, and the checker is following the way we want. Okay, so we'll just do the exact same thing on the sides of the door. Okay, so let's grab one of them over here. Maybe this guy. Hide everything else. Alright, and these are actually attached together still as one object. Alright, let's maybe just zoom in at the top here on this right side. And we have no back polygons or side polygons on this one. So what we're going to do here is just split this top corner right here. The bottom's already been deleted. Okay, so let's go in here and unwrap, go to edge, grab the side edge here, and we'll just, let's actually maybe do the top. Grab these two here, alright, and split those. The same two over on this side. Split those. And let's just give it a pelt for the hell of it. Okay, so grab one side there, expand it, pelt, start pelt. Okay, and we'll just go over and grab a polygon on the left side, expand it, and another pelt. Okay, and now we'll just relax them down and they should be good to go. Alright, so space those apart a bit, grab both of them, and relax them down. Okay, and just to make it a little faster, just go use straighten here to straighten them out and then relax them again. Straighten and relax. Okay, and we'll rescale them. Alright, and we'll just kind of stack them next to each other here and scale them down. Okay, just give it a quick look over and make sure it's okay. Alright, that looks good. So we should be done with these two pieces. Alright, let's apply our shader. Unhide everything. Okay, now we'll move on to the door, and the door has quite a bit of detail here. Let's get rid of everything else. We'll zoom in on this. Okay, now I've intentionally added quite a few extrusions and bevels here. Okay, we also have this kind of center section punched out and then punched back in. Okay, and that's on the same detail on each of the 6 kind of boxes here. Alright, and I've deleted the back polygons on the door, but we do have the sides, bottom, and top. Okay, so what we're going to do here is kind of have to cut each of these out, okay, and flatten them out separately. So let's put an unwrap on. And to get started, let's actually split the corners of the door first. Alright, so let's grab one there, zoom in. Let's maybe select these two edges, Actually, you probably don't even need to select this one here. Let's just do this one. Okay, we'll convert that to a seam. Okay, we'll do that on each of the sides at the top and each of the sides at the bottom. Okay, just that same edge there. Okay. So now we'll zoom in on one of these pieces. Let's just grab this polygon and we'll hit Z so we can kind of rotate around properly. And for this, we're going to use maybe a point-to-point seam here to kind of cut this out. Alright, so let's go to edge, point-to-point, and we'll just figure out a good place to cut it here. Alright, and it's going to give you a little bit of problem probably when you're rotating around, so just try to zoom in on one of these smaller edges here up in the corner so you can kind of get a look at it. Alright, so we're going to need to split this right down this corner here on each of the four corners to get it to flatten out properly. We also need to cut it out of the door here. So the first thing we're going to do is grab this edge up here at the top. Okay, and we're going to see if we can loop this. Okay, and that should go all the way around for you. Alright, so let's cut it out here. You could do an edge that's even closer if you want. Let's maybe do that actually. Let's grab this inside edge here. Maybe this one and loop that one instead. Okay, we're going to do this for each of these panels. Okay, so convert that one to a seam, the first one. Okay, we'll move over to the second one here and do the exact same thing. Loop that edge and convert to a seam. Alright, same thing down here. Grab the same edge on each side, loop it, convert to a seam. And finally these two down here, the same edges. Okay, so this allows us to cut each of these out of the door, but we can't flatten it out unless we cut the corners here. So we'll try to do this in one piece. Okay, let's grab maybe this one here. I know it's a little hard to see. We'll see if we can split this seam here, so I'm just going to loop it. Okay, and that's probably going to continue all the way across and down the other side, which is good because we're going to need to do this one as well. So we're just going to leave that like select it right across for now, and we'll deselect it before we actually convert it to a seam. Okay, so we'll go over to the other side here. Hold down Control and select the same edge. Do another loop. Okay, now also it's going to go around the side of the door, but don't worry about that. Okay, come over to the right side, hold Control and loop. Okay, so we have it like this. And the exact same thing here at the bottom of these panels. Okay, so control click that edge, loop. Control click this one and loop. And this one over here. Okay, so just like that. And now we'll go into the front view. Let's turn off the door back facing here, which is this button. Alright, and we'll zoom in on this. So I'm just going to turn off the edges here with F4, and we'll hold down Alt, and we'll deselect these edges here up until the blue seam. Okay, so just make sure it ends off right there. Same thing on this side. Okay, and we'll also get these middle ones as well. Okay, let me just turn off this realistic shading here. Okay, so all four corners of each of these boxes, and now we can convert those to a seam. Okay, so we're going to need to do this on the other four panels here as well. Okay, let's actually do it in the front view, it's a little easier to see. Alright, so let's grab that edge, control click this one, control click this one, and loop. Okay, just like that. Same thing down at the bottom. Okay, control click, and loop. Okay, and we'll quickly just hold down Alt and deselect these ones. Okay, and be sure you get these small ones here too. Okay, as well as these middle ones. Okay, so just the four corners of each one, and convert those to a seam. And down at the bottom, the exact same thing again. Okay, so select that edge there, the center one, and one of these ones. Okay, and loop. And one more time down at the bottom here. And loop. Okay, just like that. And finally just deselect these edges, holding Alt. And the middle ones. Okay, and convert those to seams as well. Okay, so now what we have is the ability to break out each of these panels and flatten them down. Okay. Alright, so we'll start with the door here. Let's go to Polygon, grab the door, expand the selection. Okay, and let's just maybe help map this as well. Okay, and that might not work very good for us. Let's maybe planar map it instead. Okay, just like that. We'll move it over to the side here. And now we'll move on to the panels. Okay, so let's grab the top one there, expand the selection, and for this one we'll definitely pelt map it. Okay, so just let that pull out and hit commit. Move on to the next one, expand the selection and pelt. And do this for all 6 of these. Okay, and last one here. Okay, so now we have those all pulled out. Let's just make this a little bit bigger. I'm just gonna move these apart. Okay, and we have our door there. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is try to relax these. Okay, depending on how much juice you have in your system, you might not want to do them all at the same time. It can be quite slow, so if you have only a little bit of RAM or not a very powerful processor, maybe just do one at a time. I'm going to try to do all 6 at the same time here. Okay, so just let those flatten out. Let's also relax the door here. Okay. And it actually didn't keep our seam on the corner there for some reason. Alright, so we're going to need to split that again. Alright, but our panels look like they're okay here, so let's just maybe zoom in on this. Alright, I'm going to zoom into one of the corners here. Let's go to Edge, turn off Sync Element. And let's grab one of these edges here. Let's do this guy, as well as this one. I'm going to break those. Same thing over here. This one and this one. And break. And the same 2 at the top. Okay, so let's break those corners so it can flatten out properly here. Now we'll go back to Polygon, turn on Sync Element, select the door, and relax. Okay, and now let those faces fold out properly. Okay, so let's get all this stuff in the right proportion. We're just going to rescale it. Okay. Alright, and these are a little crooked, so you can straighten them out, or you can try using the straighten selection and then trying to relax it again. Okay, you can see sometimes it doesn't work very well. Either way you want to do it. Okay, so let's get rid of that, make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so what we're going to do here is try to fit these back into the holes. Alright, you can see this one goes in here because it's blue. So we're going to move that up. Okay, and we're not going to be able to stitch it back in. You can see it's a little bit too wide to fit in the hole. And if we scale it down, you can see there's no way we're going to stitch that back in because the height is significantly different. So what we're going to do is scale it down just enough to fit it in here without overlapping. Okay, and we're just going to leave it sitting in the hole here. Okay, let's do that for each of these. So bring that guy over, scale him down, and just park him in the hole. Doesn't need to be perfect. Same with this one. Okay, I'm just going to do these 2 at the same time here. And just space them apart. Okay, so we'll just scale it up until it's almost touching that blue edge. Okay, and finally the 2 bottom ones. Okay, so let's grab everything here. Scale it way down. move it over, scale it up a bit here, and we'll just park this up at the top here. Okay, so that's quite a bit of work, but I think we're okay. Let's switch this back to perspective, and we'll apply our checker here and see how it looks. Okay, so drag and drop that on. Okay, it's going to look a little weird here, but as you can see, we have no distortion. Okay, the checker is continuing over all these little bevels that we have on the detail here. Okay, and the only seams we'll have is obviously around here and then in the corners, but there's really nothing we can do about that. Okay, but overall, that's actually quite a good map job for this door. Okay, so we'll drag and drop that on there. Okay, that'll be one of the more tedious pieces. We'll unhide all here. And we'll just move on.